We good?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Magic Box. I am Tristan Sean Gregson, back in a darkened room with my co-host Kyle Eck, and,
weird.
As I'm sure you're well aware, special guest
Hi, everybody.
Zachary Preston. You should flip your hat down so people can see what you're sporting.
No, I like the thing up.
This way, no corporate sponsorship.
Yeah, no corporate sponsorship. Well, we are only fans of Bay Area baseball teams.
Fuck the Giants. Sorry.
So rude.
Not the New York Giants.
They're swearing aloud.
Yeah, those guys are pretty sweet.
This is the internet. That's why.
It's a family show, guys, obviously.
Clearly.
So, again,
He's always
as the room will slowly populate, for those listening after the fact, it is a late night. Yeah, the lighting's kind of off. If he switches back to the white screen, it's a little brighter on our faces, which is helpful.
The problem with the lighting in my room is it's either all on or all off.
Right.
So it's either really bright in here or very dark.
And I have talked about bringing a slightly more professional lighting setup in here. The only thing is sometimes it gets balls hot in this room.
Yeah, I'm on the second story. My room has very little ventilation.
And if we brought in the hot production studio lights to make this place look nice, it would actually be a sauna.
Hi,
evening,
Sam.
Kenny. Evening, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, everybody. Since those people that matter are here, and obviously everyone listening after the fact at home is already tuned in, we'll move right into Pick One, Pack One, because we've got a lot of, obviously, thorough stuff going on so much.
My room is very close to a closet.
We're in one giant closet. That's really what's going on.
Alright, so Pick One, Pack One. This week, we have Guardian Idol, Avalanche Riders, Survival of the Fittest, Spectral Procession, Sulfuric Vortex, Torch Fiend, Jester's Cap, Oversold Cemetery, Diregaff Ghoul, Blood Scrivener, Goblin Settler, Remand, Sublime Archangel, Decree of Pain, and Upheaval. What do we like here, guys?
Oh, obviously Upheaval, not close.
What do you guys think?
See, I feel like we were talking before the show. I feel like this pack is like the trap pack, because this is a pack where just among our group of friends, the people in this house right now, everyone has a snap-off pick out of this pack. Moses really wants to play Sublime Archangel. Vin's going to take Sulfuric Vortex. You're going to take Upheaval. I'm going to take Survival of the Fittest. Zach, you going to take Upheaval?
I don't know. There's alright, so there are 4 cards here that are worth taking.
Go on.
There's Vortex, which is one of the top 3 red cards to set you up nicely. There is Survival of the Fittest, which is its own archetype, and if it's the first card in first pack, you're very easily able to draft around it. And then there are the 2 blue cards, which are Remand and Upheaval.
I like how you have 2 build around me cards, and then you slide right into, and then there's the blue cards, which kind of have their own.
Islands are a pretty strong build around.
Yeah.
Remand fits in more decks, and Upheaval is, pretty game busting. So.
I like Survival here because it's also very likely you're going to table Oversold Cemetery, which is my current deck of the day, deck of the week, deck of the month.
Unplayable.
I 3-0'd it today.
That card is terrible.
Wow.
You got paired down in a 10-man pod twice.
I didn't decide that.
Look, I'm not gonna say you had a bye, but I feel like you had a bye. And round 1, you narrowly escaped.
Quite rude to my opponents.
So again, as much as I enjoyed your deck from this week, that may have featured things along this theme, I still have to say Upheaval is Upheaval. It's hard to mess with. Although Zach drafted the Upheaval deck today, and you ended up in a very awkward position. Would you like to tell us about it, Zach?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. Go ahead.
The power sync.
Oh, I did Upheaval with 9 floating, and the guy power synced all 9 away. And then he went Land Mox Chromatic Lantern on his turn, so it was kind of awkward. But we won that game, so it was alright.
That's insane.
And this is a good time to point out.
So power sync you for 10?
No, he power synced me for exactly what I had.
Yeah, it wasn't so much counterspell as much as it was literally managed.
Now everyone just.
So people resolved, but you didn't get to do anything.
I played a land for the turn.
Yeah,
the lovely unique wording of power sync.
Yeah,
forced Zach
pretty sweet.
And then his opponent untapped and went Ruby, Jet, Land, Chromatic Lantern.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, so that was an interesting game.
That's rough.
But as Sam points out in the chat, Upheaval is not the powerhouse in Cube that it once was. We often talk about the Wild West of Cube and how 6-mana spells and creatures ruled the landscape. Now, Upheaval kind of weathered that storm in a lot of ways in Cube just because it in some ways Wrath of God, in some ways Rebirth isn't really a good card to name. Karn Liberated in many ways.
It was just like Upheaval is powerful in a different way than like making creatures more powerful or like making other spells more powerful, which is like how Kiba's gone. So Kiba's gotten faster and faster, but Upheaval does not care. As long as you were alive on turn 6, Upheaval is very relevant.
Everything gets faster. I mean, obviously it's not as good as it used to be, because not only are you more likely to die before effectively getting it off,
Sure,
but your opponent has an easier time bouncing back from it than they used to.
Like hitting 6 mana and then casting Upheaval is not really doing anything. You're not doing anything. You're just resetting the board, and they're going to play their 1 and 2 drops, and you're going to die. You have to be able to ramp out in with either green ramp or...
I think it's very clear that, like a brown... The mono brown deck or the green elf deck.
But would like to be brown, yeah.
Yeah.
And while, there is Aetherling, which is a pseudo Upheaval in a way, I think that it's still a very different animal. I think Aetherling is almost a drop in the bucket into the way the blue control decks work. It's another drop that it's nice to have.
They're sweet together.
Yes. That kind of seems like overkill, though.
Yeah. Slide, slippery slide.
I don't know, kind of like... bang you for 8, block, bang you for 8 is usually pretty good on its own. I think you're
Sometimes you gotta do more than that.
I think you're getting kind of greedy, but you never know. Alright, so that's 1 clear vote Upheaval, 1 clear vote Survival. Zach is taking a blue card.
Yeah, I'm taking a blue card. I'm probably taking Upheaval because it's a more fun card than Remand, but Remand is probably a better card.
Alright.
I think I'm just taking Survival. You've tricked me. You
tricked
threw the net on the ground and I walked into the net.
Dude, your deck from tonight's draft was spectacular. I actually wish you'd...
I felt like it wasn't very good when I was building it. I felt like I had the bad half of a good deck, but I just had so much synergy, it didn't matter that all my cards were horrible.
Yeah, Eck had somehow managed to draft like Weenie Rush 2013, including all platinum hits as Gravecrawler, Bloodghast, Resembling Skeleton, Deathrite Shaman.
Can't believe that card.
Dude, multiple times I was like, okay, activate Bazaar of Baghdad, draw 2 cards, discard Basking Root Wall, play it for Madness, Gravecrawler, Bloodghast.
Right.
Like, that's a sweet.
That did come up multiple times. You got to play Grafted Skullcap today, you got to play Bob today.
Living Death.
He had a Mox Emerald, so there was one game where you went...
He went 15th, but you
that's right, yeah.
Eck went turn to... You had one game where you went turn to Garrick Relentless off the Mox Emerald. And there's another game you went... another much more exciting game where you went...
Turn 2 Liliana's Reaver.
You went turn 2 Liliana's Reaver. And yes, the Resembling Skeleton was key. In your round 1 match, you were playing against like Grixis Control, and he abyssed you early. And if it was not for the Reassembling Skeleton, Eck did in fact.
Yes, he did say that card.
He played Grafted Skullcap. Actually, we just had 11 people show up today, and anytime there's a really odd number, I will always sit out. It is my cube. I'm kind of hosting, so I didn't play. And there was definitely one particular turn where Eck had Sylvan Library in play, access to like 6 mana. You had Bob in your hand, you just Sylvaned it, you saw like Grafted Skullcap and like a land, and you activated Bazaar. Oh, you had Skin Render, and there was also Gravecrawler in your graveyard. Mm-hmm. And it was real interesting in the game stage. Like, he could have kept Bob and drawn more cards with Bob. He could have kept Grafted Skullcap and just gone deep with Grafted Skullcap and or Bazaar Bagby. He could have kept Skin Render to get value from the Gravecrawler from his graveyard. There was a lot of very interesting ways to go deep. Oh yeah, X Library could turn into his graveyard very quickly.
Yeah, my deck was exceptionally deep. That's a great way to describe it.
So take Upheaval, avoid all these shenanigans, and we'll move on to scenario 1 of today.
Take Survival, have fun. Anyway. So, in our first scenario, our cards so far: Moat, Mind Twist, Faith's Fetters, Glenolendra Archmage. The pack we are past: Grid Monitor, Hypnotic Spectre, Oversold Cemetery, Frontline Medic, All Is Dust, Falcon Wrath Aristocrat, Obstinate Baloth, Kozilek Butcher of Truth, Raider Gargadon, Smokestack, Garrick Primal Hunter.
So I'm interested a lot in Smokestacks.
I mean, this is basically your deck from tonight, right, Zach?
Kinda. I would definitely play a Moat Smokestacks deck tonight. It was very good.
Moat Stacks?
Yeah, I don't want any of these cards at all.
Not even a little?
No, I mean, I'll take the... No, I don't want any of these cards.
I mean, yeah, Smokestacks is like the ultimate no fun for any... Like, we're our actual prison.
I definitely cast it on turn 3 and had my opponent scoop, like, on the spot tonight, like, There's a lot of cards like that, though.
So
but
we do have 4-drop, 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 and we're looking at a pack where we're excited by 4-drop.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's just
when
no-
you want 10-drop? Like, is that better?
There's just, I mean, there's just no card here that's exciting for our deck. So, I mean, you could just take Smokestacks and try and make that a thing.
I think you just take the All Is Dust. You play safe and get yourself a Wrath in your very weird control.
Smokestacks plus Faith Fetters is terrible. Smokestacks plus Gauntlet or Archmage, though, is good.
All His Dust is a little awkward when your plan is to chill with mode.
I mean,
Yeah.
like...
I guess it kind of clears your mode when you can
Yeah.
kind of do stuff.
I don't really like Frontline Medic here because we already have a moat, and
I would actually take regular Gargadon and hope to get a balance in my deck and just sit behind my moat and then
Or just
Gargadon
play
balance
4-color.
the game out. Yeah.
just
Well, like, you don't have to play the Archmage.
I think
It's
I
not
think
that
we
great.
can all agree that this deck is currently clearly undefined.
Yeah.
yeah, you are like control cards. The end.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, Fate's Fetters is a fine mid-range top end of an aggressive tempo strategy.
Right, but like
Mind Twist is just all good all the time.
Sam makes a very good point of you can just ignore those first two cards and take a Frontline Medic and just be a blue-white aggro deck. Or
Agreed.
tempo deck.
Agreed.
That's perfectly
Yeah.
reasonable. That's probably actually the best thing to do here.
I'm so greedy though. I mean,
Yeah.
like I want to take the Smokestacks, but I know that anytime I see Mindstone, Prismatic Lens, Cold Steel Heart, like those are just like the highest picks possible from this point out. I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pass anything for them.
I
But
feel like you could get Smokestacks back. Am I wrong?
that is also possible. You could get Smokestacks to come back.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, none of these cards are.
I think the irony is that, like, if I'm not taking Smokestacks with the intent to wheel it, then I really just want All Its Dust.
Yeah, but all of this sucks.
You guys are just saying how cards suck in your own cube.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
It happens.
They're role players. Sometimes they're there for traps.
All right, so at the end of the day, what are we taking?
I'm taking the All Its Dust with the intent to wheel the Smokestacks, and I also don't want to go mono 4-drops in my deck.
You know what you could also do is you could go blue-black aggro and take the hippie and keep the Mind Twist. The Mind Twist is probably better than the
2 white cards we took.
two white cards. Well, you're not playing mode if you're going aggro either way.
Even though we would go like blue-black aggro flyers.
Yeah, like,
You could just play
With
black-white with hippie.
That is also fine. I took All Its Dust.
I'll take the hippie.
I mean, it's.
I like that
I
argument.
think after talking about it, it's Frontline Medic or Hypnotic Spectre.
And that's what Sam is jamming in the chat here.
Is
So
he?
we want the card that doesn't cost 1 million mana, which is anything over 3 in this.
I want to play that moat. I'll take the flyer. I almost want to take that Valkyrie. That's good. Sweet, Wrath of God.
All right, so I'll take a little control action here. You guys will take it. You'll hedge your bets.
Yeah.
You'll go a little under the line.
Yeah.
Let's move on to scenario dos,
This is a way sweeter one.
because it's not as ambiguous.
Well, our cards are awesome. So for this pack, so far we have a Johnny Vengeant, Balance, Wheel of Fortune, Sacred Foundry. So we know right where we want to be. The pack in question: Body Double, Ranger of Eos, Edric, Spymaster of Trust, Force of Will, Thran Dynamo, Stupor, Horizon Canopy, Ultimate Price, Life from the Loam, Molten Rain, Pestermite. And I feel like this is a very easy Dynamo.
Interesting. I think this is a 3-horse race between Ranger of Eos, Dynamo, and Molten Rain. I think Molten Rain is the clear tempo pick here that you're going to want to take in the Johnny Vengeant deck.
I feel like Ranger of Eos is the exact thing you do not want to be doing with a Balance.
Okay, well, my deck is going to have to consist of 40 magical cards.
I
And
understand.
since we're playing a non-blue deck, I would like... I mean, Ranger is best in Boros. I think there are a lot of red 1-drops.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Point. But I think that...
Just because I have a balance, you think that all of a sudden that guy is like offline?
No, I would rather play a deck... I'm already in a position where I have cards that are good with balance, i.e. a Johnny Vengeant. Like, red-white is clearly the best balance deck, in my opinion. And you have one of the best red-white cards for the balance deck, which is a Johnny Vengeant. So I want to take more cards to make that deck good. And Thran Dynamo is an excellent card in that deck. This is a deck that wants Wildfire. This is a deck that wants Jocklehops. This is a deck that wants the Wraths, big, bomby spells. Gisela is great in this deck. This is a deck that wants... to play artifact mana to break balance parity. This is a deck that wants to ramp huge. This is a deck that wants, non-creature permanents, to make a lot of its spells better, in my opinion. Ranger Rios is fine.
I just think that you have no clear. I mean, like other than a balance, you don't have like a reason to take a 3 on Dynamo. You have nothing you're accelerating into. You could end up playing like
Balance is a very good reason. That card is very, very good.
Johnny Vengeance could end up being the most expensive card in my deck. That is very reasonable
Okay.
at this stage of the game.
So, but if you're doing that, you're actively not. You're choosing to play Ranger Rios over Balance, and I think that is a huge mistake.
That's not necessarily what he's saying. He's saying he'd take the Ranger and keeps his option open to see which way he could go.
And I'm not saying I'm taking Ranger either. I'm saying that I just named 3 cards that would be the ones I would take out of this pack, and you jumped all over Dynamo and down the throat of Ranger Vios, where I think that I would go the safe route and just take Molten Raid.
I just think that if the comparison is like, I mean, Molten Raid is certainly the safe pick. I just don't like Ranger here, just because like you can play Balance and 3 on Dynamo versus just Ranger Vios, and I don't think that's like a very fair comparison in Ranger's favor.
I think you're just setting up. Like, the thing about Red-White is you need to find card advantage in various ways. Obviously, Planeswalkers are going to get that done. Cards like Balance can get that done. But you're going to get a lot of unbalanced draws that you're going to need to be able to do something with your hands. And Thran Dynamo can too often, in my experience, without more tools around it, and maybe this is too early, maybe this is a situation where you're seeing it too early, I feel like I'm going to draw hands where it's just mana, and I'm not going to do anything ever.
The chat has an interesting opinion. Both Sam and Kenny like Horizon Canopy.
Oh, that's what I was saying. I was going to say Pestermine or Horizon Canopy.
Okay, Zach, tell us more, because you have picked 2 cards that we didn't even touch on yet.
Well, Pestermite is just like, it takes the deck away from being a balanced deck and turns it into a tempo deck with the Johnny Benjamin and Wheel of Fortune. Like, you're just trying to dig and, like, out-tempo your opponent with cards that do things opposed to cards that are things. Like, you want your creatures doing things like spells, right? Like, as opposed to just being a 4/4 for 3.
Okay.
In Horizon Canopy, this is a very good card. Like, it just helps so many decks. It's like a colorless card draw spell.
I mean, I agree. It goes back to the conversation about what do red-white decks do, and how do red-white decks draw out of being non-blue decks, really, in my mind. Like, you need to have consistent card advantage. You need to smooth out your draws. If you have a plan, you don't want to end up being kind of almost at the mercy of your draw. And, again, like, I end up drafting blues 6 out of 7 days a week, because I'm the guy taking strategic planning and ponder very high, brainstorm super high in the draft, just that I can always make sure things happen. And I move away from the Boros decks because too often I'll have a lot of sweet plans and they'll get derailed by
drawing a bunch of lands.
Yeah, I drew the mana and lands hand. Yeah. So obviously there's a Life and Alone in the pack as well, and Sam and Kenny both pointed out that Horizon Canopy and Life and Alone is almost its own built-in advantage strategy that could work really well with a balance or even a Wheel of Fortune.
I had those today too. Good way, Bizarre Baghdad deck.
Yeah, your Bizarre Baghdad deck had Horizon Canopy, and your green-black deck had Horizon Canopy, Pack Rat,
Life from the Loam.
Life from the Loam. Yeah, you had a lot of... Again, you should write that deck list down, because we should feature that.
That was a sweet one.
It was a good one.
So, in the end, what do we like here?
I'm playing a Save and Take in Molten Rain, although I very much understand the Horizon Canopy angle. I would not get all starry-eyed on the balance and move in on the Thran Dynamo here. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going big. I'm taking Thran Dynamo. I will not be swayed.
You are getting that Gisela.
I enjoy that deck a lot. So that's where I'm going.
Well, Zach.
I'm taking Pestermite.
Zach is taking Pestermite. Please tell the people at home ultimately why your pick is Pestermite.
Because I like tempo decks better than I like decks that can't do anything.
You can tick it up an octave or 2 as well.
Oh, can you not hear me? I'm sorry.
I
like tempo decks and a Johnny Vengeance in both Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, just be safe. You're the tiny line.
Yeah. I'm the little line?
Yeah.
I don't even see a little line.
That's
so
little,
little I can't
now
see
you're the middle line.
Yeah,
oh, all right.
Anyway.
We have alienated both the visual and the audio audience.
Now no one knows what we're talking about.
No,
Sam's on board for the Pestermite. I'm surprised.
I'm on board. All right. Sam does like Pestermite.
Combo decks.
Yeah.
It's not even a combo deck. It's just a card that does something.
Yeah.
So, much as last week, we are in easy talking points territory.
Yeah,
it feels like there's a nice vacation.
Well,
prep.
We should pretend to have a real show before we dive into Theros spoilers. We should talk Phantom tickets
Moto Cube
and MTGO Cube coming back to the internets.
Nope. That one. There we go.
Pick your poison here. Yes.
So
this is absolutely new news to Zach, which we love. We love having him on the show because his ears are often closed until
Closed to the world.
until we take his hands off and be like, all right, Zach, what do you think about this? I have only skimmed this article because it is all just rhetoric about the events. But we switched. Tell us, Zach, what is happening with the MTGO Cube?
The long and the short of it is the entry for Cube Drafting Online, which comes back on after the September 25th downtime. So
of 2013.
2 weeks from tomorrow. The entry is now strictly event tickets or strictly phantom tickets. It's 10 event tickets or 17 phantom tickets. One or the other. There is no 10 and 2 or anything like that. The prize payout has changed for single elimination drafts now. Everyone gets a minimum of 3 phantom points. So even if you lose the first round, you get 3 back.
We won't even delve into why can't you just lower the entry fee
by
3 phantom tickets or 1 event ticket and then chop off the bottom. But whatever.
Third and fourth place, 7 phantom tickets. So you get a little less than half back. Second place gets a original Ravnica draft set and 12 points, and first place gets an original Ravnica draft set and 18 points.
And a QP.
And a QP. So if you win, much like in the past, if you win, you come out a little bit ahead, depending on what the eventual price of the packs is, which usually by the end of the week is about $1.50. But the
amount of cubing that happens, and cube drafts have been so different in PGO in every time that it's hard to really say the packs will bottom out as much as they have in the past. I think that with the fluctuation of what entry has been, with the fluctuation of how much kind of like press cube gets online, the packs have been worth something. Obviously for us, we just go on there for funsies. We're not trying to like infinity flip. But now with phantom tickets, hopefully the goal would be to just
have cube pay for the next cube.
Spew out as much cube as possible.
One thing I think that is annoying, and I have had this gripe for a while, the availability of the classic draft that is always tied with the cube draft is the same amount of time. So I can't jam cube drafts while it's available and then play with those cards. I have to choose one or the other all the time.
It's always hard because we don't want to sound.
I like RGD as a draft.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record when we come on here and talk about MTGO Cube experience. But they did it well once, and ever since then, the part that's so mystifying is it's not like they caught lightning in a bottle and it ran away. Like, they knew exactly what they did to make it work well, and they just refused to do it because they feel like they might spew a little bit of value. And I don't think that was a problem ever, but we're the players, so
what do we know?
What do we know? Instead, now, you get all these RGD packs that you want to spend the next week or two drafting after Cube's gone, you don't have a chance to. To me, I would almost rather just... If the competition was good enough in the Swiss queues and I felt like I was going to have really good experiences there, I would just jam those all the time. It's just not always a guarantee.
I'll be as much as I can streaming them. I obviously have work, but
right, you're going to commit to one a day.
I can probably swing one a day, maybe.
I'll probably drop in for a few.
There were some minor changes also in the online cube list. Quickly
on this front, we got our wish though. At least they told us.
They told us what they did.
Replaces what other card?
Yeah. So, Elvish Mystic replaces Edge of Autumn. Celestial Flare replaces Cataclysm. Banisher Priest replaces Fiend Hunter. Archangel of Thune replaces Tithe.
Confusing.
Chandra Pyromaster replaces Banefire. Ogre Battle Driver replaces Stagger Shock.
Poor choice.
Lifebane Zombie replaces Skeletal Vampire. Liliana's Reaver replaces Korlash Heir to Blackblade.
I also would have accepted Swamp.
I would have accepted literal anything.
Yeah, Swamp could have replaced Korlash Heir
to Blackblade. A Rusty Nail.
That would have been fine. I guess we have to turn off Challenge Mode, which was draft, play, and win a game with Korlash. That is no longer an active cube achievement.
I'll be honest, I lost to a guy playing Korlash.
Ooh. That's on the internet forever now.
I have definitely seen it on the stack, and at one point in time I might have even countered it.
So these changes are very similar to what they've done in the past, which is make changes kind of exclusively to shelf cards in the new set. Like Sam says, I'm surprised Colonian Hider is not here.
Yeah,
this seems kind of
this is a surprise, and I think we're at this weird amalgamation where It used to. Well, I mean, like Avacyn Restored was a great example where it's like, oh, a new set came out. Let's jam the MTGO cube with all of these cards. Yeah. And then they scaled it back. I mean, with Dragon's Maze, we got like 4 cards.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay, well, I can live with this. And,
So
and
it's
that
kinda
was,
in between.
we found a happy medium. Like, bringing in a card like Celestial Flare seems a little weird to me.
That card seems great.
It's-
I don't know why everyone's jumping on that.
Like, some of
card.
these make sense, like, Liliana Reserve for Karlash, obviously. Banishment Priest for Fiend Hunter makes sense why they would do that. Like, they're so functionally similar and they want to show off the new cards, so I get that. Charter Power Master for Banefire, meh, either way. Like, neither card is stellar.
And if that's the response they get out of you, if you get a meh out of Eck, I think that you've done a pretty good job.
Yeah. Archangel of Thune for Tithe is just weird because those cards are so, like, completely opposite ends of the Venn diagram.
Tithe was always this, like, really awkward value card. Like,
Yeah.
you would... If you wanted it in your deck, it was yours.
Yeah.
And if you ever, like, worked
If you,
it to
like,
your...
went off with Tithe, it
That's
was,
the only way
like...
you go get a planes, and if you have less land, you get 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you
It
tutored
very
up,
rarely ever
If you
wasn't
tutored
there.
up, like, Plateau and Tundra, like, you were the
Like,
man.
sick.
And
You've
if you went
gone
and got
nuts.
one, if you went and got one dual land and that was like the plan in your deck, like you brainstormed and then tithed or something, like you worked for it and you could always do it and you were going to win that game.
You get the golf clap for
But
the
it makes
opponent.
sense to me why they'd pull it out.
Ogre Battle Driver for Stagger Shock. I don't see why you would cut Stagger Shock for any reason.
Yeah.
That would be a
It's not
red card.
rhyme with
It's
Stagger.
like I don't want to make an apple pie this month. Let's make a
Meatloaf?
yeah, I guess it's
An
just
Ogre Meatloaf?
it's just so confusing.
What's Battle Driver do?
It's,
He's
He's the one that makes everyone haste and
Mhm.
plus 2. So that guy's good.
yeah.
He's a fun
But so is
card.
Stagger Shock.
It's
I mean,
fun.
both these cards should be in, arguably.
Right.
Celestial Flare for Cataclysm. I mean, I'm not a huge Cataclysm fan. We don't play it anymore.
I think the only reason I'm going to miss Cataclysm in the MTGO cube is so many people that cast it didn't know what it did.
That's
so
absolutely
they would
true.
mess up their own Cataclysms,
Mhm.
and that would be good
They
for...
with several Planeswalkers in play.
Yeah, usually like, I got you now, and you're like, I don't think you know how this works.
You don't got anything. Elvish Mystic for Edge of Autumn, that's fine. I'm a big, more mana elves the better. Lifebane Zombie has been surprisingly good, and Skull the Vampire always seemed very slow.
It's not.
Yeah,
So.
not good. So
We have covered all 16 cards. At
the
this
changes, this time around are fine. The list is also on the Daily MTG post.
point. So look for the end of the month if you are currently watching this or listening to this in the recent past. And if it's 2018 and you're listening to this, then thank you, I guess.
Yeah.
But this will not apply to whatever you're trying to do.
It's weird. So that's kind of the big cube noteworthy news of the moment. We're getting back the Moto queue, which is always fun.
When it all gets boiled down, I feel like the win we get as Magic players, maybe as heavy cube enthusiasts, is that it should be easier and actually realistic to go infinite with MTGO cube drafting.
And it is.
That's absolutely true.
And the
What is awkward, I will say, the one awkward thing about splitting the entry fee is you can't flip the packs for event tickets and then bind with your Phantom points that you get, and then the event tickets you also get.
No, but you can flip the packs for close to the 10 event tickets, cover the difference, and then next year get another free draft off of your...
I mean, ideally that'd be the case. Typically, at least the last several of these, the pack price has completely bottoms out for the week because everyone is trying to do that. So, I think, I did a cube draft and I ended up with a bunch of Rise of Eldrazi packs, and I was like, oh, maybe I could just sell
them?
I was like, oh, maybe I'll just sell these and get some tickets or whatever. And bots were buying for 1.4.
yeah, I mean that's just like that's simple like sit on it math.
Oh yeah. I mean,
So again, we had come on the show. We talked about TGOQ before. We say hey, if it boiled down to it, I'm willing to rent their ones and zeros, their system at $2 per 3 hours or whatever. So I feel like this is a small win for us at the end. I don't think us or players are really losing out on anything. Yes, it would be better if the packs they gave out were, Nyx Tix queues for 2 weeks after the cube came through. Nudge, nudge. But whatever. I mean, we still get to play plenty of cube, and I will work harder on getting the stream thing going on because that's really the whole point of doing these things for people like us. We want to do it and share it as much as possible. But as Zach is yawning in the background,
Sorry,
it's
I
time
work in the
for
morning.
the taste de resistance, the Theros the spoilers. Last you left off was a week ago. We'd just seen the Chinese convert of Magmajet, but we're not worried about that.
so we're going to go from the point at which we left off last show up until the newest to the minute spoilers that we're at right now. So starting at the September 4th.
Here's a good question, Sean. Why don't you have a beard?
It's true.
It's facial hair is so annoying.
It's true.
That's a loose Canadian translation for I can't grow a beard.
Disagree. You give me a week, I could be in the witness protection program.
I mean, you look like you have a mask.
Dude, I swear to God, I go 8 hours without shaving and there's just whiskers everywhere.
I feel like that's not true, and I've lived with you for several years.
It's true, but then I shave religiously.
All right.
Religiously.
That is weird.
Religiously.
All right, so there are spoilers. Let's begin.
So we got a cycle of sweet cards at common that are all bestow enchantments. Blow right by that.
Yeah.
Really?
Not for us. I think
Not for a cube, I guess, but
I think the Windrake with Bestow is an excellent limited card.
I would
but
just
not-
like that green one right there. It's only costs 2 mana.
That is true.
It's also good to point out that Zach has not seen any of these.
Yeah,
so this
you
is
should give me if
this is an exciting experience
Yeah.
for him in a way that's different.
You're
from
going to.
everyone
It's like
else.
the eyes of a child.
Exactly.
Like, all right, so
But thankfully Zach knows how to cube, so we can have him in the room.
But where's the black one?
oh, it was spoiled earlier.
It was spoiled.
earlier
Yeah,
today?
it was no
Yeah.
weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Oh,
It's intimidating.
okay.
It costs
Yeah,
four.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So right from
Don't
the,
like blackie on
Some shows have dead air. We have Zach.
the common draft chaff right into a mythic.
Yeah.
Stormbreath Dragon, flying haste, protection from white, 4/4 flyer for 5.
This guy is such a tease. I feel he's right on the edge, and I'm not sure which.
This is the razor's edge of good enough.
Right.
Is it? This card just seems way worse than Thundermaw Hellkite.
Well, we're not comparing it to Thundermaw Hellkite because we all know it's worse than Thundermaw Hellkite.
Thermal Hellkite is on a high pedestal, and it's going to be a long time before they knock him off. However, that doesn't mean that Stormbreath Dragon isn't very good. Protection from white, surprisingly relevant, especially in cube. Spectral Procession, Lingering Souls, all kind of get shrugged off.
I mean, Premier Removal, O-Ring, Path to Exile, Swords of Plowshares.
Journey to Nowhere,
Journey to, yeah, all these things will take out your 4/4
Bound to the
flying,
Mountain or whatever it's called.
Chain to the Rock.
Chain to the Rocks.
which will not be making the cube.
That card sucked. Sweet.
Wow.
If only it targeted any mountain. I'm so bitter about that. Anyways, for Stormbreath Dragon, Monstrous is the 7 cost here to make it go up to 3, and then Stormseeker your opponents.
That 7 seems a little high.
Right. You know, and again, if this guy had been a 4/5 or even a 3/5, well, 3/5 haste.
You make that monster 6, so you can curve 5/6.
Yeah, that would also be good.
Fine.
Yeah, but you'd have to
Sudden
drop the
impact
monstrous number.
Sure, drop it to 2.
Yeah.
Make it cost 6, drop it to 2.
And that would be
Sudden
very,
impact is
very
kind of
good.
irrelevant.
I think this guy. We'll have to take a look at the 5 drops in red. I haven't really looked at that section in a while, but I think he's certainly worth discussing.
Not since the great Tephroderm experiment.
The great wildfire.
Is that the
panic.
4/5 guy?
Yeah.
God, it's so bad.
Yeah,
gone
He's
now.
gone.
Thank
Don't worry.
God.
Moving on from Starbreath.
So ultimately, Stormbreath Dragon is worth consideration.
Yeah.
He is not a guarantee in. He's not a
he's
guarantee
going
out.
to be worth a long, hard look.
I can't
Right.
see that guy making a keep cut.
I can't either, but things could happen. We
Yeah.
could need a spot filler of a certain size.
Also, the fact that this is a dragon that gets by Baneslayer Angel.
Gets by?
He's
Oh,
pro
pro-white. Oh, that's how he gets by.
Yeah.
They're ships in the night.
Ships in the
He
night.
is still
He gets
losing
by,
that
but
race.
still loses.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still, Alright, moving on from Starbreath Dragon, we have our second Planeswalker. Gold Planeswalker, Xenagos, the Reveler, red-green, 4 mana, 3-level start. Interesting set of abilities on this guy.
I like this guy.
I like him
I'm
too.
going to come right out of the gate saying I like this guy. Now, for +1, you get a combination of red or green mana or green mana, where X is equal to the number of creatures you control. It feels like in the right decks, this is kind of a sort of Feast and Famine style effect. And
Interesting.
Don't quote me too high because that card's so busted. But think about the effect that you're getting with Sword of Feast and Famine. You're getting a mana flare during your main phase. I think that this guy can function very similarly in a lot of the decks where you're going to be playing him.
So
And
it's
that,
like a 4-mana Gaia's Cradle?
yeah,
Yeah, for red or green.
yeah.
That does not seem very good.
Well,
What are
he
his
also-
other abilities?
however,
Okay, yeah, I was going to say what are
He
his
still
other
has
abilities, yeah?
several other lines of
Yeah,
attacks.
so you're familiar with Garruk Hunter?
Garrett
Hunter?
Relentless?
The Garrett Relentless, sorry. It's the one I didn't name.
That's a triple green 5.
No, it's the single green.
Oh, the one that damages. All right. I like
So,
So
instead of putting 2/2 wolves into play, we're putting 2/2 red-green satyrs with haste. The damage on this thing adds
That's
up
pretty good.
very
Haste.
quickly.
I'm a fan of haste. For
Yeah.
0, we're not
Like,
even losing anything.
We're not losing anything. Like, you could, if you wanted to just make guys, that's play attack for 2.
You keep.
I'm sorry.
That's play. Attack for 2, untap, attack for 6, untap. You're doing a lot.
The fact that
damage.
his wolf tokens have haste really goes a long way for me on this card, because now
It also helps him fight other planeswalkers.
you have the option of going for this Mana Flare style effect on your card if obviously the board is correct, is right for it, and that's where the naysayers are going to come in and be like, oh, when the board's empty, what is he doing? Well, it's like, okay, well, not only does this guy make wolves like any good planeswalker should do, make creatures and protect himself, but his have haste, so you actually can come down and have a bit of a surprise attack. Yes, you maybe those points you need to take out a Jace or something out there, that could matter a lot. But the fact that he makes guys at a not negative to your loyalty effect,
and the
is
fact
huge.
that he can feed, he makes his +1 better with his 0. So you could play him, make a guy, which could either protect him if need be, or make his +1 even better when you get to untap.
Right, the lines of play are really interesting here, where making a creature isn't necessarily about attacking or blocking, but about, again, that Mana Flare for the following turn.
Right.
So what's the 6 do?
6 is exile the top 7 cards of your library. You can put any creatures or lands from them onto the battlefield. So, but, quite good.
It's alright.
I mean, it's not like instantly you win the game.
I mean, that moment of silence there really kind of puts it eloquently, where it's a lot like Chandra Pyromaster, where it's
I feel like it's going to be hard enough for a lot of decks to deal with Bitter Blossom for haste 2/2s.
It's not really Bitter Blossom. You can't lightning bolt to Bitter Blossom.
That's true.
This card isn't at all like Bitter Blossom, but I think cutting Huntmaster is pretty rash. I would not be doing that. We actually have kind of a loose extra 2-color spot there. We've
been toying around with red-green for a while.
red-green, we wanted to go a few different directions. We actually talked about putting Sarkhanvol back in the cube recently.
We had actually literally just had a conversation like 2 days before this guy got spoiled. Like, hey, what do you think about Sarkhanvol?
Have they said why they keep putting out red-green planeswalkers? This is like the 3rd one, right?
No, I don't think there's been an official statement made.
No.
Well, see, we have we can
cut
Scar. We have Scar Guildmage.
Scar Guildmage was an experiment that went
that's kind of like
absolutely nowhere.
turn your lands into to businessing, and that didn't really work out.
That was an experiment.
But on the flip side, like I really like Gorklan Rampager. I really like Huntmaster the Fells. I really like Vithian Renegades is actually really huge in our cube, and it does not get the love and respect that it really does. And we also have Stormbind, which is a brick hit house. That card is huge.
Really?
Yeah, Stormbind is very good. It's
very
very underrated.
It steals wins all day long. When
People do not respect that card, and it kills them all
There's a
day.
reason why people don't respect that card.
Because they're bad.
All
right.
They didn't play Magic 17 years ago. That's fine.
All right, so that guy seems like he's...
That guy's not getting in the cube, right?
No, Xenagos says we'll make
He's
it.
definitely going to make it.
Really?
Well, go back to the guild page for...
He's definitely
you
going to
can
get
actually
cut.
drag it over to the main for...
But, like, we don't know what the other red-green cards are, right? I can't imagine this guy's actually very good.
We have Bloodbraid Elf, Gorklan Rampager, Huntmaster the Fells, Stormbind...
No, I understand what you have there. I mean, other red-green cards spoiled.
Oh.
There might just be a better red-green creature.
Possibly. No, there won't be. There's already a red-green spell and a red-green guy. The pro enchantment 4/4.
They only have one of each combination?
I don't think... There's not a huge amount of gold cards in this set.
Okay.
It's not like Ravnica.
Alright.
So... Anyway, I think this guy's going to go in. I think it's at the very least worth considering heavily, playing around with, given some testing.
It does different stuff, which I really, really like.
Yes.
We did not add Destructive Revelry because we're sticking with the Vithian Renegades. If it ends up looking like we're going to bring more enchantments into the cube, that is a card worth considering. But right now, I think we're good on disenchants.
I'd rather have the guy.
Yeah, and I think red-green wouldn't be the color combination we'd want to try to jam more disenchants into the cube with. There's plenty of other places to bring in more disenchants.
Wow.
Sorry.
I started looking at the next set.
Zach
These
is both
are awesome.
Zach is both ahead and behind in the conversation.
So, moving on from Xenagos, there's the cycle of on-color hosing, a la Gainsay.
Yeah, the self-hating hosers.
The Glare of Heresy seems much better than the rest of these, but that's...
the black one seems fine, and the white one seems fine.
But, compare the black one to the white one.
Where's
Like,
the
that's a
green one?
blowout.
The green one was
Yeah, it
spoiled
was
earlier.
spoiled.
This
What
is
was
this,
that one?
+2/+2 and fight another green creature for 1 mana.
So
That one seemed very good.
well, you have to understand it's +2/+2 to target green creature. That green creature fights another green creature.
Yeah.
That's
you
it.
need a lot of green in
Yeah,
play.
it's very restrictive.
Uh,
None of those would ever be cube cards.
No.
Except maybe Gainsay in the mono blue cube.
Timerette, the Burger King.
Dude, this guy needs to go in just for his name. I know Sean does not agree
So
with me,
the
but
fir-
the Murder King is sweet.
I'll tell you, the first time I read this card, I read 1 red, sacrifice other creature, deals 2 damage to target creature or player. And I was like, oh, get in there. And then I read it again and said, oh, get out of there.
The artwork,
It's funny how 2 little words is all it really takes.
the artwork on this card is boss.
This card is real cool.
His name and flavor are amazing.
We are talking about cutting a red-black card, but we need to come back to the conversation about how we're going to change up red-black.
Can I just say, by the way, paying 2 mana and sacrificing a creature to return a grizzly bear to your hand is pretty balls.
Is it really balls when you're sacrificing a Gravecrawler to get him back?
I'd rather be
And
sacrificing a Gravecolor and be doming my opponent.
Yeah.
Sure, either way. Like,
Don't get me
seems like
wrong.
you would have just went right into that deck.
Don't get me wrong. I want to play with this card because I love the name and the artwork.
Yeah.
I think they are both just right where I want to be.
Have you seen the Photoshop where it's the Burger King?
I have seen
Okay,
the Photoshop.
because that's the stellar. That's the stellar one.
It's almost disappointing because I like the artwork on this card so much that I don't need the Burger King.
Yeah.
The artwork on this bit.
This is already excellent, and then like the Burger King one is just like gravy.
Yeah. There was
Uh,
definitely a Halloween where Eck did an excellent Burger King.
yeah.
It was spectacular.
Are they gonna? Is there a blue? So I don't really know what's going on, but is there a blue-green planeswalker? Because they have a red-green and a blue-black.
There is no blue-green planeswalker this set.
No. They have said that maybe in the future, but yeah.
Is that the only color combination missing so far?
We've had this conversation before. I think it's the only one missing.
All right,
I think the chat would jump on this if we were wrong.
I'm sure.
Of the 10 two-color combinations, Simic is the only
green
one.
white?
No, green. White.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, sorry. Celestia is also missing.
So banned in general.
All right.
So Minotaur Lord.
To close out on the Murder King, probably not making the cut for us. We do need to go back and look at Red Black.
Cool.
We're probably going to be cutting Dreadbore because we're getting a card higher on this list that will help usurp it.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler of the spoiler alert.
spoiler. Yo, dog.
The problem with Red Black is it's so heavily condensed to 4-drops that you
Yeah.
want to play in cube.
Yeah, the fact that he's a 2-drop that is worth considering, it pushes him up the list. I have my doubts. I think he's just very slow and clunky, but he might be okay. I don't know.
I still miss the days of Hellhole Rats and Blazing Spectre for the record, but
yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
This god is sweet.
Yeah, we're skipping this Minotaur guy. The Black God, Erebos, God of the Dead. He should have just been called God of Greed, because that's what he does. He has greed as an ability.
But the activation costs twice as much, and for that, I guess it's indestructible. I will say that for the last year, I've been toying with putting the card Greed in cube, and I don't know if you
I don't know what greed does.
So
it's an enchantment that just does this.
no,
Okay.
it's only 1 black, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, it's only 1 black.
No.
$20 says it's only 1 black.
I don't know for sure, but
You could just bring up that other window that says gather, and you can look it up while I'm talking.
all right, fine. Anyway, keep talking.
I don't know what we're talking about. You took my screen away.
So the Black God, before we get to
Single black. All right.
specifically the Black God, I thought the card Greed was kind of this other simple Necro variant. Could be a direction the Black wanted to go. It ultimately was just too slow and too mana and life intensive. Now this card has the potential to be an indestructible creature some of the time. It's still an indestructible enchantment, but now the Greed portion costs twice as much. The only other upside we're getting is that our opponents also can't gain life. But where does this card really fit in for you guys? Are you familiar with Devotion, Zach?
Yeah, devotion's like chromatic, right?
Chroma.
Yeah.
Just yeah. I think this card is okay. I think that an indestructible source of your opponent's can't gain life is actually quite decent. It's very hard to get out from under that if they're planning on trying to even up the game with things like Faith's Fetters, another Lightning Helix, other incidental life gain. Black is going to be very good at triggering Devotion. A lot of double black 2-drops, triple black 3-drops. Geralt's Messenger is looking at this card. We don't like best bros.
Does it only count creatures or permanents?
It's just permanents. But black is very good.
Yeah.
even with
So
your wayward Necros and whatnot.
It counts itself.
Yeah.
You only need
have to get 4 other ones, which
we-
black is going to be very easy
Fine.
to do.
If we were to bring this card in the cube, would we have to bring Obliterator back?
No.
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 Unrelated, completely unrelated.
Unrelated.
Okay.
Are we talking about this blue-black guy here?
We're getting there.
So you're that disinterested with?
I think that guy likes to automatic include black's terrible, and that guy's
Really?
perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're interested.
I'm not
in playing-
convinced he's an absolute auto-include,
No,
but I think he's worth...
I think that all of it's like all parts of it go different directions.
Yeah.
Like players can't give life isn't really related to pay two, draw one, which is
Right.
not at all related to have a bunch of permanents on the play attack
it
with a
doesn't say players
5/7.
can, it says opponents can. Black gains life pretty well.
Yeah.
Does it?
No.
Not in cube.
Vampire Nighthawk.
Additionally, like everyone's like, oh, this one's a 5/7. Like, who gives a shit? It could be a 5/1.
It's indestructible.
Yeah, like what does 7 do for you that 1 does?
-6/6.
Trample? Like, yeah, you can't dismember this god.
Yes.
Unlike other gods. I right now of all 5 gods, I really only think one of them is going to make the cube.
The red one is pretty much a lock.
Yeah.
The other one's a lock. This one is close. The other ones don't. I don't think we're gonna
Dude,
make
that's
it.
5/5 for 3. Sweet.
You name a time where you've ever had 5 blue mana symbols in play, sir.
When I play blue creatures.
Which is
When I
never.
play treachery. When I play mind control. When I play confiscate.
So are you ever concerned about losing a game where you've cast any of those cards?
You really need
like-
to make them better.
All right,
like-
so this is the last stop on the god train. We'll take a second here. We'll rank the gods for cube. We've seen them all. We haven't played with them yet, but we've seen them all in a vacuum. We're able to assess them.
Red God number 1.
Run your list. Go for it.
Red God, Black God, White God, Green God, Blue God. And green might be higher just because it's also very easy to turn on devotion.
See, I'm gonna go red god, green god, black god, blue god, white god.
Red, green, and black all get bonus points for being the easiest to turn on, just because Mana Elves turn the green one on very well. Black and red both have a lot of double and triple reds in their costs. Ball Lightning temporarily turning your red god on and then back off. But other than the red god, which seems very easy to include, I'm not thrilled with any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the green god gets a lot of help from its own devotion. I think that its narcissism-esque activated ability is real. I think that Primal Rage also being on that card is real. I think those are all abilities. Like, if this was just a overcosted enchantment that you happen to have in your deck, it wouldn't be the end of the world, and it's still going to come down as a haymaker sometimes. And, having Trample on all the other guys doesn't make it super easy to block a 6/6.
The red god is the only one that doesn't feel like it's only really good when you're ahead.
Yeah, and again,
I mean, maybe the white god, but it's so expensive to make tokens.
Right, I mean, the white god's the most defensive god, and the cost at it being defensive is super high.
Yeah.
So again, the red god is probably going to make our cube. The other 4, I can't imagine them making them, but I still rank them. Red, green, black, blue, white, or white. Yeah, white is just so expensive.
Yeah.
To do anything.
4 mana to make a 2/1.
Like,
all right. So from gods to planeswalkers, this was certainly an interesting one that's had a lot of discussion around these parts. Ashiok, Nightmare Weaver, 1 blue black for 3 loyalty, +2, exile the top 3 cards of everyone's library, and then you can -X it to put a creature card that's been exiled this way into play under your control. And -10, exile all cards from hands and graveyards of your opponent.
Wait, -X to put a creature into play? What's the X?
The cost of the creature.
Oh, you didn't say that. Alright, that's
with converted mana cost, X, exiled. Yeah, it has to be exiled with that card as well.
Yeah, it's a nightmare in addition to its other types, so that's not relevant.
So, Ashiok, or
Ashiok,
or however you want to say
Ashy
it.
Larry.
This feels like a very reasonable Millstone variant for Cube.
This to me feels like Fair Jace Memory Adept for limited.
I feel you on that regard.
Like this is obviously a strictly milling card that I don't feel is bad or broken in a 40 card environment.
See, I don't think he is strictly a mill card.
Well, he has to mill to do anything. He has to start with the milling to then turn his other abilities
So
on.
wouldn't you rather just play Jace Speller?
Jace Belern's not putting dudes in play, bro.
Jace Belern is also potentially
Drawing-
allowing my
drawing
opponents
cards.
to find answers.
He's
This
drawing
card
me
is-
cards. I'm a blue deck. I don't
Okay.
understand the
All
problem.
right. So Eck might have said it looks a lot like Jace. I'm not saying it looks a lot like Jace. I'm saying on the surface it reminds me of that way because you're having a 3 mana, 3 loyalty, +2 to end the game Planeswalker. I'll agree with you there. I think that is where the line is drawn with similarities. I think that this card is a very different card. And there's a lot of play to this card because you can, in control decks, you can play it like Millstone. In tempo decks, you can play it like a threat that needs to be answered that could also potentially put threats onto the battlefield to battle with. I think that this card can play a lot of ways. Similar to how we talked about Xenagos and how it's going to open up different play space and different interactions in Cube. I think this card could do a lot as well. I like this card a lot. I don't think it's a slam dunk win condition in any deck that has islands and swamps in it. I think you definitely have to have either a control strategy that can just use the mill part, or you have to have a defensive strategy that can take advantage of exiled cards from your opponent's deck. But I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be good, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah, I think 5 loyalty for 3 mana is an absolute ton, as we've seen. And it's very difficult for a lot of decks to kill Planeswalkers at that point. And you're almost happy if they do because they've soaked. Like, if your opponent is capable of killing a 5 loyalty Planeswalker when you just play it on turn 3, then you're probably pretty stoked to not take that hit.
Yeah, and with Planeswalkers, all of them can act as some number of healing salves.
Yeah.
So if you're playing blue-black control, and this card just gains you 5 or 6 life, maybe that was worth turn 3. You don't necessarily know. I think that, again, this card is going to have lots of play. It's going to do a lot. And as much as I didn't like that blue-white hero guy from last week, where it's the new Augury Adept guy, where the cards in your opponent's deck have to be good for this thing to do anything, this guy doesn't suffer from that, where it's still, it's still the millstone. It's still going to
it's like, oh, I didn't exile anything, sweet, mill you again.
And heaven forbid that your opponent's playing 60 cards and they have 30 left in their deck when this guy's at 15 loyalty. You could still just kind of mind twist them out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like in a control deck. That could be a thing that happens. Getting this guy to 10, if your opponent just ignores him, is not at all outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah. I think he's good. I think he's worth a round, at least of testing. Who knows? Maybe in reality he doesn't end up doing a lot, but I think that just looking at him on paper, I think that he is an include.
I mean, there are definitely going to be games. I mean, any card in Magic that is initial interaction with the game state is to take cards from the graveyard and put them, library and put them in the graveyard, or in this case, put them in the library and put them in exile. It's like an enchantment that you cast that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Initially when you cast it. The cards that have suspend 1, this guy could have games where he literally does nothing, but there are going to be a lot more games where that's not the case.
So moving on to a people kind of waffling maybe card, onto a real card, Fleecebane Lion. For all those who still play Watch Wolf, I've got news for you. Those days are done. 3/3 for green-white, Monstrosity 1 for 3 green-white, and as long as it is monstrous, it is hexproof and indestructible.
I'm on board.
Oh man, this card is a beating.
It's really just a shame. I would beg that Wizards stop printing good green-white Magic cards because we just don't have room for them.
Green-white we could literally just play nothing but a green-white section that is just 50 cards.
I am pretty pissed we don't play Advent of the Worm.
Yeah.
And we'll probably never, not never, it's going to be so long before we have a chance to play Advent of the Worm that this guy doesn't even hit on the radar, and it's such a good card.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this card is very good, and I would argue it's possibly better than... It is... It's certainly more narrow in terms of what it does than cards like Kasali Pride Mage and Knight of the Reliquary.
This card is not better than either of those cards.
It's certainly more narrow, but it is very, very, very hard to ignore a 4/4 hexproof indestructible.
Kenny is talking about just cutting the color black and having Celestial be its own part of the pie.
Yeah, that's not the worst option.
If things continue in this fashion, that could sadly be a thing. So Fleecebane Lion, excellent Magic card. I almost wish, it couldn't be uncommon, but I wish it could go into Pauper Cube so this card would see more action. But I can't imagine a world.
Well, if you are not a Pauper Cube and you play Watch Wolf or Call of the Conclave, It's time for them to go.
Dude, maybe you've got some kind of like...
Nope.
All right. Populate theme.
Nope.
All right.
Nope. This is way better.
So yeah, we'll be bringing in Voice of Resurgence because we're only 3 months behind the curve. Fleecebane Lion will have zero shot of making it in our update. But thanks again. Thanks again, Wizards.
Yeah.
Now give us...
I really want to play this card, but I just...
Give us some goddamn white-black cards.
Why do you want to play this card?
It's
a
fair.
2-mana 3/3.
Yeah, and then you pay 5 and it becomes a 4/4 hex
And then
per
they kill in
finish.
response.
You realize
Bounce
this
in
is,
response.
this is an instant.
You realize...
So you wait for them to tap mana.
Leaving 5 up all the time is not easy.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not saying this card is like the Stones. It's just a very good card.
I like how every situation, Zach is just sitting with a million counter spells of removal.
No, like...
Oh, that card's not good. I'm already holding Force of Will, 2 other counter spells, Doomblade.
I'm not talking about
Slaughter
counter
Pact.
spells. He's like a 3-mana... He's like a 2-mana 3/3. Like...
Okay.
You play 0-4 walls that will block this guy all day long.
Zach, you had me at 2 mana 3. That's not the point.
Like...
We'll move right by...
I'm just not sure why you're so excited about a 2-mana 3/3.
Bad.
This card is very good.
We'll move right by not Force of Nature.
Yeah.
So,
Although still, like, surprisingly beating. Lightning Strike, also known as the Sparking Spear. As the tradition in Red goes, you print it in fire, and then you print it in lightning, or vice versa. So that's pretty easy. We're switching out Skullcrack for it. Skullcracks get you for the life gain has come up very rarely, and being able to kill guys is kind of a good thing.
So when they spoiled Elvish Mystic, we had a short conversation about how many mana elves we'd put in the cube before we would say, no, we're full. And I think that Lightning Bolt Incinerate variants also get to kind of have that conversation. We scaled it back from Volcanic Hammer, which is a shame because the foil 7th edition artwork is so crisp, so fine. Great vintage. But this card being an instant, being a Searing Spear, literal duplicate, it will make the cube. I think I was also, before we found Skullcrack, I was thinking I was going to just cut Price of Progress for it because...
Yeah.
So
I mean, either one.
Exactly. Ultimately, I think we could still probably go like 3 or 4 more versions of this deep.
It's a lot like the Laneware Elves conversation. Like, how many Laneware Elves can they print before you're not running them all?
It's different, though, because with Laneware Elves, like, it's allowing you to play a variety of other Magic cards. With Lightning Bolts, like, it just becomes, like, you lose other aspects of the game of Magic.
You become more and more narrow.
Because you just keep playing more Lightning Bolts.
Yeah, sure.
But you get the idea.
Anyway. Triton, Fortune Hunter.
Sweet artwork. Not going to be a cube card ever. I can't think of...
Heroic is striking me at... and this is just personal opinion, and this has no bearing on... I haven't analyzed the limited format or anything like that. Heroic really strikes me as like one of the worst mechanics in recent memory.
Really?
I'm just not excited by a single card with Heroic on it.
Yeah, the very first Heroic card we saw, I was scoffing at the fact that it wasn't any player targeted with a spell. And with each new card we see, I keep being like, yeah, I wish it was every player. Yeah, I wish it was every player.
They're just not... They cannot print good enough cards that I want to target all my guys with.
And they're only going to get better as we move up the spoiler today. But I agree with you. It's an unfortunate set of circumstances.
Do you like Seedborn Muse?
I'm okay with Seedborn Muse.
Have I got a Seedborn Muse for you? Prophet of Krufix, 3 blue-green for a 2/3. Untap all creatures and lands you control during each player's untap step. You may cast creature cards as though they had flash. So you don't have the issue of, well, if they kill it. I mean, you always get to untap with this thing, pretty much. They have to kill it on your turn immediately.
Yeah, so you got that going for you.
Giving your guys flash, I mean, as Teferi has shown, can be vary from not a big deal to very relevant.
We don't currently run Master Biomancer, and I would imagine that Master Biomancer would be on deck before this card.
I agree. I don't think that this is...
Seedborn Muse, for the most part, is
cute.
Is the queen of Dirtletown.
Yes.
And unless you're like... I don't even know what you'd be going off with Seedborn Muse. There's something. I'm sure there's something.
Omnath?
Sure. But, yeah, this card, not... It's cute, and it's cool, and it's going to be in EDH decks all over the place, but good for them. We're not super into it.
Now we come to an interesting point of discussion. The Scry lands.
Yeah, those lands are terrible.
This has been the big talking point. I've heard everything from, oh my god, they're amazing, they're going to revolutionize Standard, to why aren't these uncommon, which is what I said. So that's what I heard it when it came out of my mouth. I think these are okay, not great, not going to be in Cube, shouldn't have been rare.
Now, the two different land types that I had heard were potential for the spoilers were this version and a version where there was some kind of enchantment land. And
like Ancient Den,
sure.
Seed of the Sinai.
Those might have also come into play tapped. I assume they came into play tapped. If we were to have come into play tapped lands, I would have liked there to be some kind of play on the enchantment theme in the set. Alternatively, these are just awful. And
I mean, they're better than Coastal Tower.
Yeah, but that's like saying like getting a cold is better than AIDS.
I mean, there used to be a white
these
land
just remind me of
or whatever, right? That let you scry.
These really just remind me of Dwar Isle Refuge.
Oh yeah, those are all uncommon. Yeah.
That's why I would say like.
But that was a land
obviously,
block.
Scry 1 is much better than Gain 1 Life. I'm not trying to make that immediate comparison, but that's what these remind me of. And that's why I was saying they should be uncommon, because they're very, very... Like, this is about as vanilla as one of these.
Right, yeah, like, somebody phoned it in.
Yeah, this is
them phoning it in.
Do we get 10?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll notice...
Right
yeah, and I was looking like they're mix and match, and I just thought they maybe pick 5 random
so we get 5 now, and then the others later in the block.
So we don't get 10. We get 5.
We get 5 right now.
Well, that's what I'm asking. We're talking about this one, right?
Yeah.
So there's 5? All right.
Yeah.
Parting words, I think the only kind of silver lining to these is that people who think they're good at Magic like to talk down to people who aren't good at Magic, saying that those players are now going to have a worse time and a harder time winning games because they're all going to fantasize about all these Scry 1 lands in their hands. They're going to smooth out their draws.
Scry is an interesting mechanic because Scry 1 it is pretty throwaway. I mean, it's certainly good, but it's not.
This set's making it look like throwaway.
Well, it's because it's stapled and everything. But, like, Scry 2 is so much better than Scry 1. Like, Scry, the number on Scry increases how good it is by, like, such leaps and bounds. It's not just, like, Scry 2 is twice as good as Scry 1. Scry 2 is, I think, is 3 times as good as Scry 1. Just on the sheer number of options and configurations you are allowed to make with Scry 2 as opposed to Scry 1, it is 3 times as good.
All right. We have already given these cards more of a time of day than I thought they'd ever have. Yes.
So moving on.
Eat a dick, shitty lands.
Yeah.
So you're saying they're not going to make the cube?
Nope. All right. Not even a little.
I think we would. Oh god. Well, how many lands would have to be in the queue before? Like we'd add these before we'd add like the Kamigawa uncommons.
That's just rude. They're going in well before that.
Dude, those lands come into play untapped.
All right. So moving on, Reaper of the Wilds. I kind of like this guy. You don't, I know.
Yeah, you were trying to talk this card up a lot.
4/5 for 4, black green. Whenever another creature dies, scry 1. Again, stapled on the stuff. Pay a black, give it Death Touch. Pay 1 and a green, give it Hexproof until end of turn. I mean, I kind of like it.
All right,
very reasonable.
Yeah, it's very reasonable.
Yeah,
it's very reasonable. I can't imagine this card going into the cube before like Grizzly Salvage.
They're different. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this card competes. The heads-up matchup is this versus Spirit Monger.
Spirit Monger!
Right, I know how you feel about Spirit Monger. Yeah, right. You get the angry voice. So going on from Reaper of the Wilds, Psychic Intrusion, cost 5, sorcery,
Ship it.
Horrible.
Ship it.
However,
what does it do?
It's lobotomy, but also you can cast the card.
Okay.
It sucks.
Well, you can take card out of their graveyard.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a little bit
Still
different.
bad.
Look at their hand. I mean, something must...
Target opponent reveals his or her hand.
Exactly.
You choose a non-land card from that player's graveyard or hand and exile it. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. Really? It just turns all your land to like chromatic lands to cast the spell?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, if your opponent has some sweet game winner chilling in their graveyard, you can
gotcha.
You can probe them and take
Disrobe.
this card
Probe
out.
them and disrobe them.
The disrobe is the taking a card out of their graveyard part.
This card seems terrible. But
It is.
It costs 5.
I'm glad we had fun with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys are like skipping rares with like 5-minute sorceries. They could be
The card next to it, however, I am very excited
I
for.
would also like Zach to read this one because he did such a great job on the last one.
It's true.
Reveal the top 5 cards of your library and separate them into 2 piles. Any opponent chooses one of those piles, puts that pile into your hand, and the other pile in your. So it's a reverse.
It's reverse factor fiction, and is it? It's still an instant. The cards still go to your graveyard, but the roles are reversed. You make the piles. Your opponent.
So it's worse.
It's like a gifts ungiven factor fiction, and I think that it's worse. But I still think that there's enough play to this that it's going to be fun.
Well, I mean,
and
you're
good.
still getting at least 2 cards. Like it's still draw 2 at instant speed, 4 mana instant speed draw 2.
Okay, so
At worst,
so is
that's what it
inspiration,
is, right? Sure, but like this has an upside. This one could get you 3.
I mean, at least they go to your graveyard.
Yeah.
There's
I'm
been
a
this
big
long
fan-
trend of putting stuff on the bottom of your library.
Yeah.
these days.
I'm a huge fan of cards like this where it's you make decisions and your opponent makes decisions because there's such gamesmanship to them and there's so much play in them. The mind gaming and things like that. I just really enjoy that aspect of cards like this. Factor fiction, gifts ungiven, weird intuition piles.
Sam's right. This is much worse than Thought Flare, but it's more cool.
Right.
Thought Flare is a much better card than this, but this card is more.
I
more
think
fun.
Steam Augury, the short, concise review of this card is Thought Flare is better. This one is cool.
What's sick is you if you're playing Reanimator, you could make like the piles like 5-0. Then what do they do?
Give you 5 shitty cards that you wanted in your graveyard.
But then you get to draw all these cards.
Like if you really need the Gristlebrand in your graveyard.
I mean, I guess you get a discard for drawing 5, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Again, like I think we've covered it very well. This one's cooler. I don't think this is going to make the cube. Thought Flare hasn't made the cube. Red
I
Blue.
like this card.
I mean, I like it plenty. Like that's.
I want to play with this. This seems fun.
We'll have to come back to it. On the paper side, I don't think there was any changes.
Blue-red is too good to put this card in.
Yeah, Blue Red got a whole lot better.
Speaking of getting a whole lot better, Ashen Rider kicking Angel Despair right to the fucking
Poor
ground.
Angel of Despair. I hard cast that card today.
Yeah.
That card is
Would you
a.
rather have paid 1 more and cast this card?
That's not the point.
So the first time I read this, as usual, I read cards too fast and think they're way better than they were. I thought it was when it enters or leaves the battlefield, exile target permanent, and immediately my mind started racing with momentary blink and flicker wisp. Obviously, can't do that. But still, sneak attack, recurring nightmare, obviously disgusting.
When I first read this card, I didn't read the dies. I didn't read the word dies.
Yeah.
I just thought that they just wanted to reprint Angel Despair, but
They
then
just tacked a mana on and made it exciting.
Made it Archon.
Yeah,
Blue
and
Angels.
I was like, I guess amazing artwork makes this card cost 1 more mana. But
And a mythic.
So I mean, this card's going in. If you play Angel Despair, this card is just better. The 1 mana is not super relevant because usually by the time you have double white, double black, you probably have a spare colorless mana lying around.
so
And if you're
probably
reanimating
not
it, you probably don't care.
the deck that this card will go in 99.9 times out of 100 is the recurring Nightmare Survival of the Fittest deck.
That's the card that deck already wanted Angel of Despair because it was awesome there. This obviously just makes it go through the roof. Exiling over destroying is also relevant.
Plus, no one has protection from Archons or anything weird like that.
No.
I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed because now this is like another.
You have to buy one.
It's an annoying ass mythic that people have to get for their cube.
Yeah.
When it's just like
Thanks. Another $30 bill.
It's like Ashen Rider. It's like, yeah, okay, that's fine, whatever. My life would be perfectly fine if this card just didn't exist.
That's true.
Now it's like, yeah, it's slightly better. I
However,
just need to get this.
here's a card I am excited to exist.
Okay, read it.
Hero's Downfall. Murder. And you also can target Planeswalkers.
Instant speed dead bar.
I'm really, really glad we never played Murder because we would look like hobos right now.
Right, yeah, we got lucky on that one.
Dreadbore at instant speed for 1 black. This one just windmill slam. Everybody's happy. This is exactly what black wants.
This is like the best removal spell they've printed in a while.
It's very good. I see no clear argument against it.
Really, I just like the fact that Snuffleupagus is just taking this guy out.
Which is, fuck you, buddy. Punching you. So that one's easy and not a lot to talk about. It's boring, but it's very good.
Why is the chat hating on this card?
Do not like this card.
You don't like
There's no reason for
unconditional removal spell at instant speed?
the responses are, this card in all caps.
Oh, sorry.
I hate this card. I do not like this card. I love this card.
How do you not like unconditional kill spells for creatures or planeswalkers at instant speed at a reasonable cost?
I think that
I don't understand.
Like, sure, this card doesn't do a million things and it's not super flashy, but it's just very, very, very good.
I would cut off one of the varies, but I agree with what he's saying. It's versatile. I think that they're... Well, yeah, your cube is smaller than ours, but we don't have this effect right now.
It's black removal that kills black creatures, which is relevant. It kills artifact creatures, which is relevant.
Murder might have been a magic card for a lot of people. We were already talking about cutting Victim of Night. I mean, that was one of those cards that could actually stop Ghost Council. We were thinking about bringing in something like Tragic Slip. Now going the slightly opposite direction here with Hero's Downfall is a more expensive removal spell, but so much we're gaining from it, and everything that Black has problems with in the form of Planeswalkers, we're finally getting an answer for. I feel that in the long run, this is going to be a cube staple for everybody. Unless they bring out more cards that handle Planeswalkers with such efficiency, you're going to need to have this card in your cube, because again, only more Planeswalkers are entering the cube. They're not leaving. And I'm the idiot playing Gideon Champion of Justice, so there you have it.
Moving on from that guy,
We talked about this guy.
Medomai the Ageless. Oh, that's right, because he was an unconfirmed spoiler before this.
Yeah.
Moving on from them, we got a couple new dudes.
Oh, this might be one of my favorite talking points for cards.
The
right
Boon?
Here. The Boon Satyr. I think this is the first...
The Noob Cybot?
This is the first bestow guy that I want to put in the cube here. We're already getting a 4-power flash creature in green for 3 mana. We're getting a bestow cost at 5, which allows us to make it a Menorah. I think he's got all the right moves. Anybody?
This guy seems fine.
He's fine.
Just fine.
I'm not excited about
this
crappy dudes that cost cheap and only attack.
This feels like a future. This feels like a future card fight segment. I can picture in my head now of Boon Satyr on one side and Wolfir Avenger on the other.
Eck did immediately text me that scenario when he first.
That
saw
was
this
like
card.
the snap immediate. Like here's what we're talking about.
And I would play. I texted him back immediately. Could it be both? I'd like to find a world where we could have more flash guys against the blue decks, and some snap blockers. I remember the days of Simian Grunts. I miss those days. I think we live in a slightly different world now. But I think Boon Satyr is...
People did get taken to Monkey Town, and it wasn't even that long ago.
No. So I like
several
this guy.
years, but
I think he's going to end up making it. Plus, one of these days, someone might accidentally have to Academy Rector into this guy.
Backup plan.
Can you do that? Oh,
yeah, because
this
this
is
is
enchantment.
Yeah.
Oh. That's so weird. What, dude? They just stuck the word enchantment on everything. I don't understand. Like
that's all there is to understand.
Theme?
Yes.
The theme is let's stick the word on enchantment.
Yes.
Like
Hythonia the Cruel. It's a giant mythic and it's a Gorgon and it destroys non-Gorgon.
Yeah, that card will be a magic card. To answer the question in the chat, how big do you want your cube to be? I like variance. I love the history of Magic. I mean, if it was a balanced format, I would want the cube to be thousands of cards. I don't think that's realistic right now, and I think for us to be able to support archetypes and be able to support the colors properly, we're pushing the limits at 700.
You're over already.
Yeah, in some feelings we may be over at 700, but again, I think it's an opportunity to have a lot of variance and include a lot of things that just are great. I mean, we're losing a lot of family friends. I feel like all the time. I mean, we're most likely losing Urnham to Jin with the next update.
I feel like
Genesis.
I feel like 720 is the cap. 720 is like a hard ceiling.
Yeah.
For cube size.
Yeah.
720 lets you run 16. How many do you need to run 16?
I mean, we currently, whenever we do a 16-man, we just do 14 card packs.
Yeah.
So 720 is what you need for a 16?
For 16 15s. 16 people with 15 card packs.
Yeah.
But we can do.
I wouldn't go over that either.
Yeah.
Are we putting these next two cards in? Sorry.
Go ahead and tell the people at home what you're looking at.
They're looking at them right now. There's only 2 other cards on the screen we haven't talked about.
This is a podcast, so...
Oh, I'm sorry, listeners. Only listeners. Spear of the...
Heliod?
Heliod? That card's sweet.
So,
you still have a bunch of...
Literally Glorious Anthem.
Glorious Anthem.
Upside.
Plus, Reciprocate?
Yes.
Pay 3 mana to reciprocate?
Yes. Destroy target creature deal damage you this turn.
Yeah. So it's better than Glorious Anthem.
And
Right?
you still have that in the cube, right?
Yeah, but you can blow up this as an artifact. No, we don't play Glorious Anthem.
Which ones do you play now?
Crusade, not other peer.
Those are the only two?
Yeah.
This guy's sweet. You should put this guy in.
It's worth considering. The white in the spell section is pretty loose.
Yeah.
So we
it's a
could
little-
probably-
It's like token. It's like premium removal token generators stuff.
Yeah.
So it's certainly worth considering.
And Dissolve is just like better than Hinder, right?
So it's competing in cube with Hinder and Dissipate. I want to say.
Yeah, we still run Dissipate.
I mean, this is just better than Hinder.
I could see running this over Hinder.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Hinder's. It is what it is.
I think I hindered a spell of X. Did I hinder a bug yesterday?
No, you hindered.
You hindered something and you put it on the top because you knew I was
Spectre
shuffling.
because you're shuffling.
Oh.
Because it literally did not matter where you put it.
Well, if it had been memory lapse, it would have been fine too, actually.
Yeah, like
So yeah, this could be in over one of the other 3 mana
It
cards.
could be, but I'm not. I'm
it's
kind of
better.
like.
Scrying in a control deck is so important. It's so much more important than putting a card on the bottom of the library when you can just counter it and put it in the graveyard.
I don't know. I like Hinder. I have a hard time parting with it, but I don't know. Oh, did we just go down?
No.
X doing things. We
That's
don't really
fine.
know what's
Don't
going
worry
on.
about it.
Stream configuration quality is acceptable. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, Dissolve. I'm on the fence about it. I'm not writing home about it, but I'm also not discounting it completely. I'm happy with the way the counter spells are in Cube.
Yeah.
Scry 1, maybe.
I'm not writing home about Hinder or Dissipate, nor am I thrilled about Dissolve. We could certainly try it.
I am. This card seems sweet.
Let's see. Favorite Hoplite,
talking
Heroic
about it.
Pass, Fanatic Magus, Minotaur.
So you remember that card from World Wake that was 5 mana for a 4/3 and it had multi-kicker of red and then domed your opponent for double your multi-kicker?
Yes.
This card kind of reminds me of that card.
In that it dumbs your opponent and is red?
And with a lot of red, it does a lot of stuff.
Sure.
This heroic guy's sweet.
You're one
I'm
step
sorry,
ahead of
I'm
us.
sorry, I'm one step ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, are you looking at our Minotaur Shaman here?
No.
Or we desperately wish it was a Flame Tongue Kavu?
Yeah. Why can't this deal, David, to instead of each
Yeah.
opponent, just creature or player?
That card's terrible.
All of a sudden, this card becomes much more worth talking
Well, there's the
about.
Eventide guy that's Karoma, double red and 3 for a 2/2
Yeah.
that hits creatures.
Well-
So they didn't want to completely kick that card to the junk. Meanwhile, yeah.
Next step.
Not so happy.
Red 4-drops are so cluttered anyways.
Yeah, this
I mean,
guy
yeah,
had no
no
shot.
discussion,
But I mean,
yeah.
if he had been altered in a way that would have allowed us
Yeah.
to hit players or to creatures, I mean, you get the idea. Not happening.
Tormented Hero, 2 power guy for 1.
Not a zombie or a vampire.
Has the word heroic on it, so it probably sucks. Oh, it does. Oh. Moving on.
I mean, now that we've moved away from attempting to jam like vampire lords into the cube,
Well, the super aggro days of black are pretty much over.
So here's
there
the
are
thing.
already multiple 2 power for 1 black creatures we are not playing.
here's the thing: we're still playing Carnophage, because it's a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
We're still playing Lacerator, because it's a 2/2 for 1.
Mm-hmm.
But Lacerator only has downside. Since we're not like backing up the vampire like tribe these days, but we are backing up the zombie tribe.
Sure.
I could see us cutting like a card like Vampire Lacerator for this card.
Sure, but coming into play tapped is a pretty big deal, and 1 toughness is also a pretty big deal. Like, Lacerator is a
how is
much...
one toughness a pretty big deal.
Lacerator is a much better top deck. And it doesn't just like look like a hobo to tokens and random crap. Like, this card literally dies to everything, and can even block the turn you draw it, if you have to.
At least it can block. If this card said couldn't block, we wouldn't bat an eye. We would still think it was a card.
Yeah.
I mean,
I concur.
I'm not excited
There
about
could
it. I
be-
don't care if this card goes in, let's just say that. I don't think it's good. I would probably never play it.
Indifference.
Indifferent.
Yes, Kenny, we have considered Xanthid Necromancer. If more cards like this could get printed, I could see a big shift. You
Sure.
know, maybe a month or two, a set or two, or whatever from now.
We tried going huge on humans.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a time in Cube where we tried to go huge on vampires. We've definitely tried to support zombies over the years. I'm into bringing back something like Cemetery Reaper. I think those things are just fine. But who knows? The future of it, I mean, the future of Magic is humans. So we have not done a hard count yet, but that might some more, again, more cards like this keep showing up. We'll have to do it.
the future of Magic is humans. What does that mean?
They keep printing humans for no good reason.
They're printing Minotaurs in this set, and Gorgons, and gods, and everything else.
Yeah, but
like
they're not
very
gonna print
few
more of
of
those.
them.
They print humans in every single set.
It's because human is the most popular race.
Well, there you go.
You
You've
alright.
answered the
But
question.
the
very
future of
quietly,
Magic.
Zach has
They're
answered
not
the-
the future of Magic, is all I'm saying.
Okay, they just are the most popular. Heliod's Emissary, another thing. A Crown Horse, cool. Very the flavor. The flavor of the Trojan Horse is sweet. But that, obviously not a card.
I think it's funny. You don't even have to give this card Defender.
I mean, it'd be weird if you... It's like carrying equipment and snatching people into it.
Yeah, like you can use that as a battering ram. Come on. Full flavor.
Whip of Erebos, however. This card is interesting. We were talking about this earlier. It's slow. 4 mana for creatures you control have lifelink.
Which is important when your shit is slow. At least your guys
Lifelink
have
makes it a
lifelink.
lot better. 4 mana, tap it to Corpse Dance, effectively.
Kind of give a guy Unearthed 0 almost.
Yeah, Unearth. Well, it's basically everything in your graveyard has Unearth 4.
At sorcery speed. Well, yeah, because Unearthed is sorcery speed anyway. So yeah, that's a good analogy here. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile at the beginning of your end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Activate this ability only anytime you can activate a sorcery. So there's no easy way to cheat this card. They've written in a lot of text to make sure that you have to play
It's
fair.
cool. It's cute with Obsidat. It's cute with Aetherling. Anything else with self-exiling.
It still seems too narrow, too cute, and too slow.
Sure. It does. I mean, lifelink is a thing, but...
What happens if somebody Oh, you couldn't do that because it's sorcery. Never mind.
Okay.
That situation does not exist.
Right. Again, if this card wasn't worded exactly the way it was worded, we could have had a sweet one.
If it was like sacrificing it into turn so you could get...
Oh, yeah, I mean,
this is
those of you that have played with Corpse Dancing Cube and seen what it really does, it is one of the most annoying Magic cards ever. So I'm not at all surprised that if we...
Oh, Corpse Dance? I'll block. I'll get back.
Yeah. Definitely when you play against kids that are newer to Magic and you do that
They
trick
just don't get it.
the very first time, they're like, well, wait a second, why isn't that card in your graveyard, but why is that card in your graveyard?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And you're like, you just can't attack anymore.
So, Whip, cool, slow, probably too slow. Swan Song, however, not slow. It's very fast. 1 mana instant. Counter target, enchantment, instant, or sorcery. That spell's controller puts a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying into play.
Not since Arcane Denial have I wanted to counter my own spells more.
So this is like a one-time Dubscape?
No, not really.
Doesn't Dubscape counter non-creature spells and give you a bird?
It gives you birds, 1/1 birds equal to the converted mana cost of the spell.
This gives your opponent...
Oh, okay.
This
Or-
gives
or
the guy
the-
who cast the spell
A
a
1/2
bird that is
creature
2/2.
bird. Okay.
Clearly, this seems like a card that is a plant for eternal formats more than anything else, where the 2/2 is the least relevant. Protecting combo decks, things like that.
So hot in the Oathmeres of Vintage.
Right, exactly. Oath is
That'd
just
be
this
so
is,
good.
This is such a
That card is like the
backbreaker.
best Oath card, mirror card ever, right?
Yeah, this is a complete backbreaker in the Oath ring.
I think the irony is that if you're playing the Oathmere, Oath is symmetrical anyway.
But you have to find a way to give him a token.
Yeah.
Right, I guess.
So yeah, not really a cube card, but
So you're not actually countering the card Oath of Druids. You're
You're
trying
trying
to get like
a
their
token.
mystical tutor
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
their ancestral or whatever. We'll never play this card in Cube though. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. A card we will play in cube, however, Soldier of the Pantheon.
Oh look, it's another Elite Vanguard that's strictly better.
A strictly better Elite Vanguard. It is 1 white for a human soldier that is a 2/1. However, this card also is protection from multicolored, which is super relevant. And whenever an opponent casts a multicolored spell, you gain 1 life, which is not very relevant.
I don't know if it's super relevant. It's like
I think
maybe 90 cards in the Cube relevant.
I think it's very good.
All right.
I mean, clearly it's just...
Again,
odds.
we're splitting hair for no good reason. We're
yeah.
obviously going to put this card in the Cube.
Yeah, we're playing its literal worst brother right now, so... Elite Vanguard's days are numbered. Or potentially Savannah Lions if we want to get less catty.
No, Savannah Lions must stay. Magic history.
Okay, fine. Elite Vanguard, get out. I understand. This is a weird card. We were talking about this earlier. Prognostic Sphinx.
I love the artwork. I'll start with that.
It's got a sweet beard.
Yeah.
It looks like it has a weird, goofy smile on its face or something with like the weird.
It could be doing any number of things. It's prognosticating.
Yeah. 3 blue for a 3/5 flyer, and when it attacks, scry 3. What's up?
Hot, hot, hot.
Hot, hot, hot. Discard a card. Prognostic Sphinx gains hexproof until end of turn. Tap it. So you can't go all out on the on the defense with this thing. However, very difficult to deal with.
I'm really a fan of any card that has the sentence or phrase "tap it."
Yeah,
You
I
don't-
just tap it.
You don't see that on Magic cards nearly enough. Basic lands, if they were to bring back text on them, I really wish they would include just
Tap it.
"tap it."
Tap it.
But that might be where my the artwork and that phrase might be where my love of this.
I want to see this card
ends.
foiled. See like what kind of crazy foily beard he has.
Yeah, and imagine all the cute stars around him.
Yeah.
Blue, again, as usual, the hardest color to break into for Cube, the longest, standingest army of all.
I mean, I think that if you are currently playing the card Sphinx of Lost Truths, you have to at least ask yourself the question: is this better? We are not currently playing that card, so that is not a question we have to ask ourselves.
This card's not better.
Well, Zach has apparently already answered it.
Card is not better. Sorry, this card is not better than Sphinx of the Lost Truth.
Zach is actually making a very compelling argument today to put Sphinx of Lost Truths into Cube.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, because that card's good.
maybe we can cut out the artwork for prognostic.
Yeah, it's just,
We get Ball into making one.
Yeah.
Paint a new picture on
and
it.
just
or
kind
something.
of put it on top
Yeah.
of Sphinx of Lost Truths, and we'd all be very happy.
Yeah.
I see cursor, lol, trolling by Mario.
Yeah, that is the future sighted card.
Everyone
from
was all
Future
hyped
Sight.
on.
Yeah, that will be in Theros.
Next up,
Oh, did they say that they were bringing one back?
they're like, we have a future shifting card. What's it going to be? And it's like, that's a 3/3 for 3 that we've already printed a bunch. Eat it. This card is really cool.
This card is amazing.
Demon Heart Chimera. 1 blue red for a star 3 flying trample. And its power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. What a weird one. Blue-red, trampling, flying creature. Just a strange
and the
thing.
very rarely seen star mechanic, star number. We very rarely see that these days. Now, obviously, we were talking before the show started. This card is immediately butting up against Nivik Cyclops. And do we just kind of have to take this sweet, flying, trampling, red-blue...
Weirdo.
Horse...
He's a
Pegasus...
Chimera.
Yeah, this card is better. I like Nivik Cyclops, and this card is better.
And my argument was Nivik Cyclops lives through your fire spouts, your slag storms, your earthquakes. He's kind of like a combo unto himself to attack for a ton on one turn. Where this card is a little more consistent, I guess, in your like red blue instant sorceries decks, which we do draft in Cube. Those are decks, and this could be a real viable win condition for those decks. So I'm kind of torn. I really like Nivik Cyclops.
I do too.
That guy really has grown on me, so I'm not sure.
This dude is goofy as all hell, though, which I'm a fan of.
Yeah, Nivik Cyclops does a lot of sweet blocking too. Okay, all right. This one lives through Earthquake as well.
That is absolutely true.
You've got me. You've got me there.
Yeah, I do like the explosiveness of Cyclops. A lot of people kind of see that card and they don't think that they're in danger of immediately dying, when in reality they are.
So Cyclops, one more kind of like point in that one's corner is there's the surprise attack element.
Exactly.
Where this
also,
card,
you just like throw 2 burn spells at them and they've taken 10.
where this card you could strategic planning into a Forbidden Alchemy mid combat, and who knows what's going to happen. But it
Probably not strategic planning in combat, sir.
No, I said strategic planning into a Forbidden Alchemy mid combat.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But again, you don't necessarily know what you're getting with that card. I don't know.
All
This
right.
card is
Goofy.
just good.
Goofy is all hell.
Good.
Agent of the Fates. So this is I think the best heroic card I've seen yet. That's
We're
what
looking
That one
at
right
a
next to it seems fine too.
a black, and 1 colorless for a 3/2 death touch. What a surprise! More humans. They're all so heroic.
Heroic. When you cast a spell that targets it, each opponent sacrifices a creature. So immediately, all of a sudden, the inherent problem of playing all these pump spells or auras or whatever get a lot better when they all turn into Chainer's Edicts.
So now I'm like Divine Deflectioning this guy for 0.
Yeah, you can.
It doesn't work with like
Fireball
seal.
against
It doesn't
zero.
like seal. You can't seal a removal him.
Rancor him.
Yeah, you can Rancor him. I guess we're kind of at the top of. I mean, can we expect Heroic to get any better than this?
That's pretty good heroic. The one right next to him is pretty good. I know it's only +1/+1, but when it gets attached to a double strike on an efficiently costed creature already.
So to go for both sides of the coin, not only we have Agent of Fates on the sacrifice side, the card next to it on the spoiler that Zach is referring to is Fabled Hero. Now we've got kind of another Silverblade Paladin variant. We have a 2/2 double striker for white, and 1 colorless, and whenever it becomes a target of a spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on him. Shimmering Wings get in there.
Well, like, you
is
just, like-
Is Silkanet better in that circumstance? I'm trying to think of like the best. Is there like a 0 return to hand? I mean, like Silkanet like gives it more toughness, so I kind of like that.
You just like Rancor this guy and bash someone for 10, right?
Yeah.
That is good, yeah.
Like, that seems perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
So
This is the card that is very sad. Ascension is no longer around
sure.
because that would have been a pretty.
But isn't the new Armadillo Cloak still around?
No.
Yeah. For standard.
For standard. Yeah. I mean, Heroic kind of slots into the hexproof deck in a way, but
What's so funny?
This guy's choice of words is spectacular. I like every single part of that line.
that is a good one.
He can leave him there, but
Okay.
you are wrong on every level, sir.
And then we have finally the Ordeal cycle. We got the red one before.
For Zach, because he was not here at the beginning. The red one is actually pretty good.
Okay, what's the red one do?
So I'm going to give you the gist. When an enchanted creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then when that creature has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you sacrifice the enchantment in question. So the red one, when you sacrifice it, you get to lightning bolt something.
Okay.
All right, so that's what the red one does.
So the following: blue draws 2 cards, black discard 2 cards to an
Target
opponent.
player, yeah.
Green 2 basic lands into play. White gain 10 life, which is a lot of life, but
It also has sweet art. The Order of Heliod.
Ordeal of Heliod.
Sorry, the
Definitely cool looking.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, you don't lose the counters though; they stay on the creature, not the enchantment.
Correct.
Right.
Relevant.
So-
alright, that's not too bad.
We are current to the moment.
Yeah,
with,
I just
with,
refreshed.
with
so that's
spoilers.
all of them.
But to come back to that last conversation about heroic, is it one of those things where you should go back to the gallery screen over here? So, if this is the top end, is that good enough to play in Cube? And should we be reassessing cards like Mutagenic Growth, or is it just still too much, and we shouldn't be looking at it? I think Edict is right there. I think +1/+1 counters for particular creatures I'm not too stoked about, but I like the idea of turning X instant spell into tack on the sweet ability attached to a guy that's already good by himself. 3/2 Death Touch for 3, and this is kind of the perfect storm because black is already the bottom rung. It's already looking for 3 drops really badly. It loves to get Death Touch guys. So, what was the guy called? Agent of
the Fates.
Is there black instants or sorceries that you want to target your own guys with?
That's the problem.
Yeah. You could try to slip that guy.
Oh god, it wouldn't even work.
Oh, it wouldn't even work. Yeah, it does. Oh god. Oh no, it's horrible.
Heck had me there for a second. I was like,
Yep. No.
So that card's only good in a color combination because it's never going to be in mono black.
Hatred, not a card that we're running.
gosh, man, when we used to play Hatred.
Unholy Strength. Rah.
Hatred for 0 just to get a heroic trigger.
Yeah, worth it. Totally.
It's only when you cast an instant or sorcery spell. It's not when it becomes the target of an ability you control.
It's actually
It's
any
only
spell.
spells.
It's only spell. So it
Okay.
can be an enchantment spell.
Right.
Gotcha.
It can be you can be a bestow trigger.
Because
They
it was
learned
abilities.
with the Looter Elcors and all that.
Right,
stuff.
Elcors
The
would just
Elcor
break all
guys,
of them.
Yeah.
You just print 50 infinite combos in one set.
Yeah.
So I just
Nomads in Core goes from 10
right
cents
to
to
the
like
$50.
$4.
Yeah, I just think that there's not enough good because at most, I mean, realistically, if we're talking about a cube environment, how many heroic creatures are we going to play? I mean,
Let's say we're going to play 4 in 700 cards.
Okay.
Let's say there were 4 like Hacha-Cha-Cha ones.
So you are now talking about modifying a lot of other cards to make 1/2 of 1% of our cube better.
Yeah, probably not worthwhile.
Right. That feels like just like an insane amount of micromanagement over something that is not actually worth it.
As a blue player, I'm okay with giving you as many crappy enchantments as you want.
So, I just don't
Bring
think...
them all.
If Heroic will at most be incidentally okay in a cube setting where a card you already want to play happens to have an okay Heroic trigger, but I think trying to make Heroic a thing is not worth really considering.
So that very first red-white one we saw, there was like a 3/2 first strike. No, it was like 3/2 vigilance.
It gives everybody +1/+1 or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Like,
Here's 3 tokens.
It was around here somewhere.
a little higher. There we
There we go. 3/2 first strike vigilance with Heroic. All you guys get +1/+1 and trample until end of turn.
See, I'm on board with that. That's pretty good. The problem is it's already in 2 colors.
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
not a lot of
If that
cards
card,
when it's targeted.
if that was the white one,
yeah,
white
great.
one, yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the problem with all the gold cards, is obviously the demands on the sections are a lot higher just because they have less room.
The real problem is that outside of black, most of your color, your cards have to be super. Your creatures have to be super good or super effective at what they do, and because they have this weird, like, mechanic that can run away from you if you like tack on too many things, that they're never going to print the base creature to be that good.
They have to be very careful with Heroic.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to play that. It's a lot like we talked about Bestow. Like, they're not going to go too wild and crazy with that mechanic. They're going to be pretty safe with it.
I mean,
Bestow costs are going to be very high.
I'd be very interested in the following sets after Theros to see what Bestow could do. I think that, we talked about in the past where you see the basis of a mechanic when you bring it in, then you really start to explore it. There's sets, and I'd like to see Bestow go the directions. Heroic, on the other hand, like, we get the concept of it, and we're not going to play more cards to go around it. As much as I like to add 20 copies of Bandage to the cube to help with our 4 or 5.
Let's just be free. You just play as many bandages as you want.
Or just
free.
the Salvation Army. It's free. As many
Free
bandages as you
yeah.
want.
I mean, I certainly agree that it's all about context, looking at the chat, but you have to also analyze the fact that if Brute Force is a thing that is really awesome in your cube, you're probably like a Pauper/Peasant cube, or you have a weird setup.
Don't you have Giant Growth in the cube?
Yes, we do.
And we shouldn't, but we do.
But you're
We
not
shall
one of
see.
these weird popper setups either. Like,
I like the card Giant Growth.
I actually think that Brute Force is better than Giant Growth.
That's certainly in a color that's more appropriate for
It
it.
might be right. That makes me very sad.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about
I mean,
that.
I don't want either of them, but I mean, that's just me.
That wraps us for Theros spoilers for today. I think we've we've moved up in the list of the number of cards from the set we were considering bringing to the cube.
Last week was very good to us. There are a lot of spicy
At the same time,
ones.
it's also very frustrating because I don't really want to add 3 new Planeswalkers to the cube as much as...
Good. Sorry.
What's good?
Because you don't want to, because
Oh.
you probably shouldn't.
Did you watch the Rank the Planeswalkers show?
Which one was it? Did you rate the Planeswalkers?
We ranked
on it?
them in cube, yeah.
No.
Okay. We should go check that out. I'd be very interested to hear your feedback.
It was Elspeth number 1.
No.
It was Jace the Mind Sculptor number 1.
Yes.
That one seemed obvious.
Okay. Well, we ranked the top 25, so there's a lot more room for you to fill in there.
Okay, I'll go back and check it out.
Who knows if in 700 cards we're ready to go to 28, even if we're bringing in an instant speed Planeswalker kill spell. Things may need to change. As much as I like the new angles that cards like Xenagast and Ashok or whatever his name is do, we shall see. I think on the preliminary list that we've been passing around the room, cards from Theros that we're considering adding to cube include Elspeth, Soldier of the Pantheon, Read the Bones, Lightning Strike, Perforos, Ember Swallower, Polukranos, Boon Satyr, Sylvan, Carid, Commune with the Gods.
From what I've heard, Sylvan Caryatid has been testing very well on the people who have proxied it to play ahead of time. It seems like that card's going to be very good.
And the 2 multicolored Planeswalkers to finish that line of thought. But that's already, it feels like a decent number of cards from this.
Yeah, I feel like just recently we had like an update where we put 60 new cards in. And that was tumultuous.
I think it was 9 months ago that we changed 70 cards in one shot, but I
like the change, and I like the churn and the new cards, but that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. So.
Gotta try and
I mean, this current update we're looking, the raw list right now is something like 28, 29 cards.
And we still have what, 100 more cards to go?
Yeah, whatever. It'll be. It's all kind of
chaff.
mediocre stuff at the end these days.
We've got most of the rares and mythics.
I think that you should limit planeswalkers to 2 per color and 1 per color combination.
Even though we're running 700 cards.
And even though not every color combination has one?
I'm just saying that's the most that you can have. I said limit.
I like the idea.
Maximum.
When we did the Skeleton Cube, we put a cap on planeswalkers, but we were
that was also more for budget concerns too.
Well, kind of, but we were more liberal with the multicolors. Like I think that as soon as your planeswalker costs 2 or more colors, I wouldn't put a restriction on it. It just has to be good enough.
It just has to be good.
Well, there are very few color combinations that have multiple planeswalkers in them, right? We have
Right
red-green.
Not in the cube. We don't have a red-green planeswalker in the cube.
No, I'm just saying in Magic.
In general.
Yeah,
Magic,
but I'm saying like I would be much more.
I'd be willing to put another white-black planeswalker if they aren't a good one.
But I'd be handicapping base colors more than I'd be handicapping.
Yeah.
Well,
At this point, like Elspeth should be going in for Gideon Champion of Justice, so as not to give white another planeswalker.
Well,
Gideon Champion of Justice is a creature. He's not a planeswalker.
No, it's
not true.
bad. It's actually just a bad magic card.
It's not true. But like you have like so many different planeswalkers in white and red and green that you should just limit to 2.
I wish
It
there were.
solves a lot
I
of
wish
these
there were
problems.
different. I wish there were different planeswalkers in green. There's just 3 Garricks.
It's-
Well,
Oh,
there's
okay.
Nissa.
No,
we
it's-
don't. We don't play.
I'm
Nissa.
just saying that there's so many options that you just limit it, and it solves these problems of am I gonna? At some point you have like 54 planeswalkers in your cube, like, and it's just gonna be a planeswalking cube.
It's just gonna be guys with end of the battlefield
Yeah.
triggers and planeswalkers.
That's
it's
what,
like gonna be
that's what Key will be in
ridiculous.
10 more years.
Yeah.
It'll just be enters a battlefield, triggers, and planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we'll obviously have a lot to figure out between then and now, but that's probably much going to wrap us for today. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in on the live side. We are very late in the evening, so thank you for your patronage.
Yeah, it's time for bed.
Good turnout though.
For you listening on After the Facts, thank you as always. You can still currently find us on MTGcast. You can chat at us, tell us what you think about the show, or ask any questions on Twitter at Tristan Gregson, at Young Mecha. Zach, do you?
I still know.
Zach's
Still
Vine,
no.
Vine only. Look for.
I'm not on Vine. I don't even know what that is. Shit
You're
just
not
popped
out.
up. I don't know what it is.
He's
Oh
on
my
MySpace,
God.
guys.
So
Look
get
him
us-
up.
I'm not on MySpace. I'm not on any of these things.
hit us up on there. You can also hit us at draftcube@gmail.com for all of your questions and concerns. Check out ecomon.blogspot.com for everything Cube list. Check out cubetutor.com and look for the magic box. You can draft it. You can actually help with our analytics if you go there and give us some more information. I'm about done whoring this stuff out at this point. We do have the MTGO Cube coming back soon, and Eck did not have a spectacular run the last time around, so we are looking for
Redemption.
we're not only looking
Looking
for
for
some
redemption.
redemption donations for Eck on the donation part of the Twitch page. We are also looking for donations so we can start to bring you some more exciting Cube content from the Cube League. Again, I've got some freshmen coming into the Digital Arts College where we do video stuff that I'd really like to wrangle into a weekend of recording like a rotisserie draft.
And
or
as
something.
Kenny just said, there are still unsold cube vaults. So if you can track one down and you need a place to put your cube, that's the place to do it.
How's
That's-
a cube vault?
Zach, if only you'd been here.
If only you have ever watched
If only
the
you
show.
ever, yeah.
Is that,
He's only
is that
on.
the case?
He's only on this side of the camera. He's never on the other side.
No. I watch it driving over the hill sometimes with Sean, but only the pick'em sections.
We freeze him,
Yeah.
and then we
he lives in the actual closet. We just cart him out for the show once a month.
well, for the draft. He comes out for the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
so,
like unfrozen caveman lawyer.
So
That's a too deep of a reference, I think.
So please donate. I also need to get need to get on Edmund,
Oh, that's right.
Edmund to
It's
come
the
back out of
Canyon
working.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
You
asked
were
that.
never, it's not that you were ever wrong. You just anyway.
Yeah.
So thanks again.
Zach just heard about the fall of communism.
Hit us up next week. We will hopefully have a much more printed and ready to go list for you of potential cube changes. And until next week,